The little girl stood in the lobby doorway, small hands clutching the hem of her oversized pink coat. Snow clung to her boots, melting into tiny puddles on the marble floor. Her voice was barely a whisper as she looked up at the tall man in front of her. "Sir, my mom didn't come home last night." The sentence hit the sill like a fist to the chest. Ethan Hale, owner of Hale Industries, feared in boardrooms and known for never missing a detail, froze. His breath caught somewhere between shock and disbelief. He had heard countless pleas for help in his life, but never one so small, so raw, so fragile. The lobby security team exchanged confused glances. Meetings were waiting. Investors were already on the top floor. His schedule for the day was booked down to the minute, but Ethan didn't hear any of that. All he saw was a little girl who should have been in school, not out in a blizzard, standing alone with terror trembling in her eyes. "Where do you live?" he asked gently. The girl sniffed, wiping her face with the back of her sleeve. "Down the street in the old brick apartments. Mama didn't come home after work yesterday. I waited all night." Her voice cracked. Ethan's heart did something it hadn't done in years. It softened, without another word, without informing his assistant, without asking his driver. He pulled on his coat and walked toward the lobby doors. "Sir," the guard called out, "your meeting—" "Reschedule everything," Ethan commanded. "Now!" He pushed open the glass doors and stepped into the brutal winter morning. The wind howled like a warning, ripping through the narrow streets and turning every breath into ice. It was a kind of cold that cut through layers and sank into bone. Snowflakes blew sideways, sharp as needles, stinging the exposed skin on his face. The girl hurried to keep up beside him, her small boots slipping on patches of ice. Ethan slowed his pace. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lila," she whispered. "My mama's name is Rose." They turned down an alley where the city's elegant high-rises disappeared behind worn brick buildings and rusted fire escapes. The morning was quiet, too quiet. The snow seemed to swallow sound itself. Storefronts were shuttered, windows frosted over, sidewalks deserted. "Tell me what happened," Ethan said as they walked. Lila nodded, breath forming small clouds in the air. "Mama works night shifts at the diner. She's always home by sunrise. But yesterday she never came." Her voice trembled. "I waited and waited. I called her job, but no one answered." Ethan's jaw tightened. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. "How old are you, Lila?" "7. Walking alone in a snowstorm. Coming into a corporate skyscraper to find help. Where were the neighbors? The building management? Anyone?" They reached the apartment block, a tired, aging structure with broken railings and a flickering hallway light. Snow had collected on the steps. No footprints. No signs of anyone coming or going since last night. Lila led him up the stairs, her tiny hand slipping on the cold metal banister. When they reached the door of apartment 3C, she paused. "She always leave the porch light on for me," she said, "but it was off this morning." Ethan felt a chill deeper than the weather. "Stay behind me," he instructed softly. He knocked. Hard. No answer. He knocked again, louder. Silence. The dread that settled in Lila's eyes made his throat tighten. "Do you have a spare key, sweetheart?" She nodded and dug into her coat pocket. Her fingers shook so badly she could barely grip the metal. Ethan knelt and steadied her hand. "It's okay," he murmured. "You're safe with me." The lock clicked. The door swung open with a slow creak. Inside, the apartment was cold, too cold. The heat had been off for hours. A mug sat on the table, half full and untouched. A coat hung over a chair. Everything looked frozen in time, like someone had gotten up to leave and never returned. Lila rushed inside. "Mama," she called. "Mama?" Her voice echoed down the small hallway. Ethan scanned the room. No signs of struggle. No broken glass. No forced entry. But he noticed something else. Rose's phone, sitting on the kitchen counter. People didn't leave their phones behind. Not willingly. "Lila," Ethan said carefully, "do you know if your mama told anyone where she was going yesterday?" "She went to work," Lila whispered. "She said she'd bring home leftover soup. She always brings soup when it snows." Her lip trembled again. Ethan exhaled slowly, thinking. There was only one place to start. The diner, he said. We'll go there next. Lila blinked up at him. You're really going to help me? Ethan bent down to her level, meeting her eyes. No one should face the world alone, he said quietly, especially not a child. He held out his hand. She took it, and together, they stepped back into the storm. The CEO kept walking deeper into maze of old tenement buildings, where the snow turned gray and the streetlights flickered like dying fireflies. With every step, the girl clung more tightly to the frayed sleeve of his coat. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just breathed in tiny, controlled puffs like someone who had learned a long time ago that crying solved nothing. They stopped at a battered metal door. Its bottom edge rusted through, paint peeling in long, tired strips. The little girl pressed her ear against it. Mom, she whispered. Silence. She knocked once, twice, 3 times. Still nothing. The CEO tried the handle. It didn't budge. When he pushed harder, the frame made a cracking sound. The girl stepped back, eyes wide, as if expecting someone to scold her for bringing help. Stand behind me, he said gently. One well-placed shove from his shoulder broke the swollen wood. The door swung inward, revealing a room colder than the street outside. The smell hit first. Damp, dust, something metallic. The apartment was barely furnished. A mattress on the floor, a blanket, a single lamp with no bulb. The window was cracked open, letting in snow. A pair of shoes lay overturned beside the wall. The girl darted inside and looked around frantically. Mom! Her voice quivered for the first time. Again, nothing. The CEO scanned the room. Then he noticed something, a faint trail in the dust across the floor. Not footprints, drag marks. He followed them to a second door, half hidden behind a curtain. When he opened it, the girl gasped. Her mother lay on the cold bathroom tiles, one arm limp, her face pale, lips blue. A cracked pill bottle lay nearby. The CEO dropped to his knees instantly, checking her pulse. Weak, faint. She's alive, he said. Call 911. The girl froze. I don't have a phone. He handed her his immediately. She stumbled over the buttons but managed to dial. While she spoke to the operator, he lifted the woman carefully, supporting her head as if she were made of glass. She weighed almost nothing. Malnutrition, exhaustion, cold. He didn't need a diagnosis to recognize the signs. She didn't want me to worry, the girl whispered. Worrying is what keeps people alive, he answered softly. The ambulance sirens cut through the icy morning. Paramedics rushed in, lifting the woman onto a stretcher. The girl held her mother's hand until they guided her away. Sir, one medic said, she's lucky you found her when you did. Lucky. The CEO looked at the little girl standing in the hallway, shivering, hugging herself because no one else ever had. He crouched to her level. What's your name? Mila, she said softly. Do you want to ride with your mom? Mila nodded. He helped her into the ambulance, pulling off his scarf and wrapping it around her neck. When the doors shut, he stepped back into the swirling snow, watching until the vehicle disappeared from sight. For a moment, everything went still. He should have returned to the glass tower, where people obeyed his every word. He should have gone back to meetings, contracts, numbers, and the world that made sense. But he didn't move. Instead, he walked the entire way to the hospital. Hours later, after Mila's mother had been stabilized and given warm blankets, fluids, and the first real safety she'd seen in months, the hospital staff explained the gravity of it all. Hypothermia, severe fatigue, dehydration, anxiety collapse. She'll recover, they said, but she can't go back there. Not yet. While the doctors talked, Mila sat beside her unconscious mother, drawing circles with her finger on the blanket, pretending not to listen. The CEO stepped outside the room and made a phone call to his legal department, to his HR director, to social services he personally funded, to anyone who could fast-track support without drowning the small family in paperwork or waiting lists. He didn't know this woman. He didn't know her anything. But Mila's voice still echoed. Sir, my mom didn't come home last night. And he remembered the feeling of being small, helpless, ignored, years ago, before he became the man the world knew, a memory he had buried deep, a memory he thought he'd never face again. By evening, Mila's mother woke. Her eyes fluttered open. Disoriented, panicked. "Where's my daughter?" "I'm here, Mama," Mila said immediately, grabbing her hand. The mother saw the sow standing near the doorway, and shame flickered across her face. I'm sorry," she whispered, voice hoarse. "She shouldn't have bothered you." "She did the right thing," he said. "She saved you." Tears escaped the woman's eyes, slow, silent, tired tears that seemed years old. "I just lost my job. The rent was overdue. I didn't want her to know how scared I was. I thought I could fix it before she noticed." She wiped her cheek weakly. "But she's just a kid. She shouldn't have to take care of me." The CEO took a slow breath. "Starting tomorrow," he said, "you're going to have a job. Stable, safe, full benefits. And an apartment my company owns that you can live in until you get back on your feet." The woman stared at him. Mila stared at him. Even the nurse who had walked in froze for a second. "Why?" the mother whispered. "You don't even know us." He looked at Mila. "No child should go out into a snowstorm looking for help," he said quietly. "And no mother try her hardest should be punished for failing alone." The woman covered her mouth as she sobbed. Deep, shaking sobs of relief, disbelief, and exhaustion. Mila wrapped her tiny arms around her mother. "See, Mama, I told you someone would help." The CEO stepped toward the door. "I'll return tomorrow," he said. "Get some rest. Both of you." When he walked down the brightly lit corridor, nurses whispered. Staff watched. Some recognized him from magazine covers, business news, financial segments. Others didn't know his name, but could see enough to understand. Sometimes the coldest night gives way to the warmest dawn. And sometimes all it takes is a little girl's trembling voice in the snow to remind a powerful man that compassion is not weakness. It is a thing that saves everything that is worth saving. Outside, the snow had finally stopped. But in a small hospital room, wrapped in blankets and hope for the first time in months, a mother and daughter held on to each other and waited for a tomorrow that no longer frightened them.